Hello, boys and girls. Welcome back to the 30-Day Art Challenge. Today we're going to read a book about an artist's life. I located a book called Kid Artists, True Tales of Childhood from Creative Legends, stories by David Stabler, illustrations by Doogie Horner. Each chapter of the book is devoted to a different artist. We'll start out in part 3, talking about the works of Pablo Picasso. And this is called Pablo Picasso, Problem Child Makes Good. Every child is an artist, Pablo Picasso once observed. The problem is how to remain an artist once we grow up. All his life, he chafed at the rules imposed on him by others. But what some people saw as a rebellious quality was in fact an imaginative and innovative spirit that could not be contained. Pablo Picasso entered the world howling. Seconds after he was born, one of the hospital physicians, his uncle Don Salvador, leaned down and blew a huge cloud of cigar smoke in the newborn's face. The baby grimaced and bellowed in protest, and that's how everyone knew he was healthy and alive. At that time, doctors were allowed to smoke in delivery rooms, but this little infant would have none of it. Even at birth, he refused to accept things as they had always been done. The baby was named Pablo Diego Jose Francisco de Paulo Juan Nepomuceno Maria de los Remedios Cipriano de la Santísima Trinidad Martir Patricio Clito Ruiz y Picasso. Whew! He was known to his friends as Pablito, a nickname meaning Little Pablo, and he learned to draw before he could walk. His first word was piz, short for lapis, the Spanish word for pencil. It was an instrument that would become his most prized possession. Pablo inherited his love of art from his father, Don Jose Ruiz y Blasco, a talented painter. Don Jose's favorite subjects were the pigeons that flocked in the plaza outside the Picasso's home in Malaga, a town on the southern coast of Spain. Sometimes he would allow Pablo to finish paintings for him. One of Pablo's earliest solo artworks was a portrait of his little sister, which he painted with egg yolk. But painting was not yet his specialty. Drawing was. Pablo mostly liked to draw spirals. When people asked him why, he explained that they reminded him of churros, the fried dough pastries sold at every street corner stand in Malaga. While other kids played underneath trees in the Plaza de la Merced, Pablo stood by himself, scratching circles in the dirt with a stick. At school, Pablo found it hard to concentrate. Rather than completing classwork, he filled the margins of his notebook with pencil sketches of animals, birds, and people. His teacher grew exasperated with his lack of attention. She wrote a note to his mother saying Pablo should stop drawing in class and pay attention to his lessons. It was clear that Pablo hated rules, and he took every opportunity to disobey them. When adults told him what to do, he did the opposite. He once got in trouble for coloring the sky a bright red instead of the normal blue. Pablo was often banished to the calaboose, a bare cell with white walls and a bench, which served as a holding pen for unruly students. I liked it there because I took along a sketch pad and drew incessantly, Pablo later said. I could have stayed there forever, drawing without stopping. He even began misbehaving on purpose so that he would be sentenced to detention and sent to the calaboose. The one person who understood that Pablo wasn't acting out for no reason was his father. One day when Pablo's mother caught him drawing on the wall with a nail, Don Jose took him to the beach to blow off steam. As Don Jose stretched out to take a nap, Pablo sat beside him and drew a dolphin in the wet sand. When Don Jose awoke, he was astonished by the beauty of his son's drawing. Could it be Pablo who drew this? He wondered. That afternoon, Don Jose took a closer look at the image Pablo had drawn on their living room wall. What at first looked like random scratches soon took shape. Don Jose recognized a reindeer and a bison running away from a group of men on horseback who were armed with bows and arrows. At that moment, Don Jose knew what to do to get Pablo to stop misbehaving. He decided to take him into his studio and teach his son how to paint. From that day onward, Pablo and his father were inseparable art partners. In search of new subjects to portray, they began going to the bullfights. Pablo was mesmerized by the sight of the brave picadors as they charged ferocious bulls. He saw El Largito, the lizard, one of the most famous bullfighters in Spain, and he met Cara Anca, the celebrated Andalusian matador. When he was only 9 years old, Pablo completed his first painting, Le Picador, a portrait of a man riding a horse in the bull ring. 2 years later, Pablo's family moved to a new town, La Coruna, on Spain's Atlantic coast. Don Jose got a job as an art teacher at the local college. Even though he was much younger than the other students, Pablo enrolled in his father's class. He also took courses in figure drawing and landscape painting. By the time he turned 13, Pablo's skill level had surpassed his father's. Don Jose was so impressed that he handed his son his brushes and vowed to never paint again. When Pablo was 14 years old, his family moved again, this time to Barcelona, where Pablo enrolled in the prestigious School of Fine Arts. His teachers quickly noticed his skills and allowed him to skip 2 grades. But just as in Malaga, Pablo had trouble adhering to the school's rules. Before long, he was back to his old tricks, cutting class so that he could wander the city streets, sketching interesting scenes that he observed along the way. Pablo repeated this behavior at his next school, the Royal Academy of San Fernando in Madrid. This time, Pablo's father refused to tolerate his son's antics and stopped his allowance. At age 16, Pablo found himself on his own for the first time, forced to support himself on nothing but his artistic ability. It has been said that the older Pablo grew, the more childlike his art became. During some periods, he painted almost entirely in blue or depicted only circus performers. During his Cubist period, he painted people and objects, broken down into geometric shapes. When he died in 1973 at the age of 91, Pablo left behind more than 50,000 artworks in a variety of styles and materials. Paintings, prints, ceramics, sculpture, and more. He was considered the world's best-known artist. When it came to making art, Pablo Picasso lived by his own rules. Wherever inspiration led him, he followed. Something that would not have surprised anyone who had known him as a child growing up in his native Spain. Thank you, boys and girls. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Have a wonderful day. Bye.